that?
The wind carried a hollow whistle across the snow-dusted streets, but it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the silence. Too thick, too complete, as if the world itself were holding its breath. The neon sign of the Frostpine Motel flickered once, twice, then steadied, casting a sickly green glow across the parking lot. Snow crunched under her boots, each step startlingly loud, echoing in the emptiness. A scream, or was it a moan, rose from somewhere beyond the pines, distant but sharp, slicing through the quiet. She froze, heart hammering. The sound didn't belong to the town. It belonged to the night itself. Her eyes darted to the motel window nearest her, half expecting to see someone peering back. There was no one, only a dark shape, shifting at the corner of her vision. A knock came at the door, slow, deliberate, hollow. Not from outside, but inside the room she had just entered. Her breath caught. She hadn't opened the door yet. She stepped back. The knocking stopped. Then a whisper, "Don't stay." Her hand trembled on the doorknob. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to lean toward her, breathing with a life of their own. The heater rattled violently, as though arguing with the cold, but the air was still. The silence returned, thick, suffocating, and far too knowing. She wanted to run, but her feet refused. Something waited. Something patient. Something that had already noticed her. The door creaked just slightly, as if inviting her, or warning her, inside. And she realized with sudden clarity that some Christmas nights weren't meant to be survived. The Frostpine Motel smelled of old pine cleaner and something sour, like rotting paper tucked behind a radiator. The fluorescent ceiling lights buzzed intermittently, throwing long, quivering shadows across the lobby. Outside, snow fell silently, each flake dissolving into the frozen ground without a sound, as if the world were swallowing its own breath. She walked to the front desk, boots scraping against the worn linoleum. The receptionist's chair creaked under a body she hadn't noticed until now. A thin man hunched forward, pale under the flickering light. His eyes lifted slowly, dark and unreadable. "Room 7, he muttered, his voice brittle, almost a whisper. He didn't smile. Didn't ask for her name. His gaze lingered too long, as if measuring something inside her. "Be back by midnight," he said. The words seemed absurd, but they carried an edge, a warning veiled beneath routine. She took the key, its metal cold and rough against her fingers. The corridor to her room smelled faintly of mildew, with red and green carpets so faded it looked like a memory of Christmas past rather than a current decoration. Each step she took seemed amplified in the emptiness, bouncing off the walls with an accusing echo. At the end of the hallway, the door loomed, number 7 carved crudely into the wood. She turned the knob. It rattled, hesitant, and the door opened with a groan. Inside, the room was small, decorated with a gaudy Christmas wreath pinned crookedly above the bed. The heater clanged sporadically, a hollow sound that seemed to mock her heartbeat. She set down her bag and looked around. The window faced the snowy lot, the neon sign flickering shadows across the floor. Then she noticed it, on the nightstand, a small figurine of a Santa Claus. Its face was smudged, twisted, as if someone had tried to erase its expression but failed. Her stomach tightened. From the corner of the room came a soft sound, like the whisper of fabric. She froze, listening. "Who's there?" she called, her voice brittle. No answer. Only the sound of breathing, not hers. She backed away, heart hammering, until her back hit the wall. The window rattled, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a shadow outside, peering in. Then it was gone, and the silence returned, heavier than before. She tried to convince herself it was nothing, that the wind had played tricks, that the motel was just old and lonely. But the feeling didn't leave. The air pressed against her chest, thick with expectation. Some instinct, ancient and raw, told her she wasn't alone, and that whatever waited, waited for her. The heater clanged again, louder this time. The door creaked as if responding to some unseen hand. And beneath it all, a whisper, faint and deliberate. "You shouldn't have come." The first hours passed in a tense blur. Snow continued to fall, a muffling blanket that made the world outside the Frostpine Motel almost non-existent. She paced the room, checking the locks, tracing the faded patterns in the carpet, running her fingers over the crooked wreath above the bed. Everything seemed ordinary, and yet nothing felt right. At precisely 11:13 p.m., a soft tapping began at the window. Light at first, almost polite, but persistent. Her heart pounded. She approached cautiously, pulling back the curtain. Nothing. Only the reflection of the motel's flickering neon against the glass. Yet the tapping continued, now from the radiator, the doorframe, and even the closet. Each tap echoed, multiplied by silence. She remembered a conversation overheard at the front desk. Two travelers, hushed and uneasy. "Room 7, one had said. "They say something happens every Christmas night. Always room 7. The words had seemed like drunken superstition then. Now she wondered. It began with small things, objects moving just slightly out of place. The figurine of Santa she had set on the dresser was now on the floor, facing the corner. The heater's clanging became rhythmic, almost a heartbeat. She thought she heard whispers, low and fragmented, words she couldn't catch. Later, a voice came from the corridor, a thin, strained whisper. "Don't stay, Yule." Then silence. She ran to the door, trying to peer through the keyhole, but the hallway was empty. Even the neon light outside seemed dimmer, swallowed by shadows that weren't there before. She considered leaving, but the lock was jammed. Her phone had no signal. She was trapped. Memories surfaced. Snippets of a story from a local paper. Years ago, a family had been found in room 7, all gone by morning, faces frozen in terror, their screams echoing in the snow outside, unheard by anyone. Some said the father had made a pact, others whispered of a curse, dormant but awakened by winter, by loneliness, by the snow that muffled all sound. She tried to rationalize, telling herself it was superstition, the stress of travel, fatigue. But every sound chipped away at that rationality. Voices whispered behind the walls, a child crying, a man groaning, a woman screaming for help. The shadows moved with purpose. Her eyes tracked them. They never faltered. A knock at the door, soft, patient, was followed by a muffled voice, urgent and hoarse. "Room 7. It never lets go." Her hands shook, and she stumbled backward into the bed, clutching the covers. Each moment stretched, each shadow grew. She saw shapes in the corners. Figures hunched, faces turned toward her, smiles too wide, eyes too dark. They vanished when she blinked, leaving only the oppressive air and that lingering, inevitable dread. Time warped. Minutes became hours, though the clock on the wall seemed stuck at 11:57. The whispers grew clearer, phrases she could almost understand. "It sees you. It waits. It hungers." She tried calling for help again. The receiver was dead. Even the line itself seemed swallowed by the night. Flashbacks came unbidden. Travelers from years past, faces pale and hollow, their last words scribbled on napkins, doors, even walls. "Don't open the door. Don't look. Don't let it in." She felt their fear as her own, shared across decades, and realized she had stepped into a trap centuries old, a ritual replayed each Christmas night. Then the shadows began to press closer. Shapes emerged. Tall, thin figures at the corners of the room, bending impossibly, moving against the laws of light and gravity. A figure at the window smiled. Its mouth was too wide, teeth blackened. She screamed. The sound was swallowed by the thick snow outside. The whispers grew louder, urgent, frantic, like a storm of voices trapped behind glass. "Leave, can't leave, it follows." And then, from the closet, the handle rattled, as if something was trying to escape. Something that had been waiting, patient. Every object in the room trembled. The figurine of Santa flew from the dresser, hitting the wall with a sickening thud. The heater clanged violently. The shadows moved again, closer, almost tasting the edges of the room. She realized she wasn't imagining it. The room itself was alive. By midnight, she had stopped moving entirely. Eyes wide, heart hammering, she could only watch. The room breathed with her. The shadows leaned closer. And somewhere in the distance, muffled by snow, came a familiar, terrible sound. A scream that ended abruptly, like a life snuffed out. She understood then. This was not a haunting she could escape. It had been waiting for her, patient and inevitable, and Christmas night was its hour. The clock in room 7 flickered violently, then died, leaving the room in a darkness so complete it pressed against her eyes. The heater rattled, convulsing as if in pain, and shadows stretched across the walls like long, twisted fingers. Every sound, tap, whisper, groan, multiplied, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once. She backed into the corner, hands pressed against her ears, trying to block out the voices that clawed at her sanity. Leave, leave, leave. The whispers weren't outside anymore. They were inside her mind, repeating, overlapping, urgent, impossible to ignore. Her pulse hammered in her temples. She stumbled toward the door. It slammed shut in her face, the lock clicking into place on its own. A low, gurgling laugh echoed from the closet. Her eyes fixed on the door handle, trembling violently. Slowly, impossibly, the door opened. A shadow poured out, stretching, bending, impossibly tall. It moved with patience, but also with purpose. It knew her. "I warned you," it said, a voice both feminine and masculine, old and young, layered like a chorus of the dead. Every Christmas night, it chooses. The room shifted. The walls leaned inward, the floor sloped beneath her, and the lights flickered, revealing glimpses of other faces. Travelers long dead, frozen in terror, eyes wide, mouth screaming. She recognized some. They were etched into memory like warnings she had ignored. "Stop, please," she screamed. The entity laughed again, low and wet, the sound crawling under her skin. It leaned over her, impossibly close. Its eyes, dozens of them black, glistening, fixed on her. She could feel the air thicken, pulse, constrict. She grabbed the figurine of Santa from the floor, throwing it at the shadow. It passed through like smoke, shattering the illusion of safety she clung to. The room seemed to breathe with hunger. The shadows twisted, elongated, forming hands that reached for her. A whisper slithered in her ear. "You can't leave. You belong now." She ran, but the hallway had stretched, doors multiplying endlessly, each one open, each one a mirror of terror. Behind her, the whispering grew louder, urgent, frantic. "Don't escape, never escape." She turned a corner and saw herself. Another her, pale, eyes hollow, mouth frozen in a scream she had not yet made. Her reflection stepped forward, merging with her. She stumbled backward. Time itself seemed fractured. The neon sign outside flickered impossibly fast, then stopped, casting a green glow over endless corridors she did not recognize. A sudden, sharp scream pierced the night. Hers, theirs, all of them. The room, or was it the motel itself? Contracted, pressing in on her. The walls bled shadows, reaching for her, swallowing sound, hope, air. "Please, stop," she gasped, voice breaking, trembling as the darkness pressed against every nerve. And then the whispers became one, a single voice, cold and patient. "Christmas night is ours. And now, you are ours." The last thing she saw was a figure at the window. A Santa Claus, twisted, smiling impossibly wide, eyes black, staring through her soul. The light in the motel flickered once, then died. Silence fell, heavy, eternal. She tried to scream again. Nothing came out. The room was empty, except for the shadows, moving on their own, patient, waiting. The snow continued to fall, soft and silent, outside the Frostpine Motel. Morning came, or what passed for morning in that place, pale light seeping through frost-coated windows. The halls were empty. No footprints, no signs of struggle. Only the faint echo of a scream carried in the air. Impossible to place, impossible to forget. Room 7 was silent. The heater had died. The flickering neon of the motel sign cast a weak, cold glow across the faded carpet. The wreath above the bed remained crooked, its colors dull, lifeless, and the figurine of Santa lay shattered on the floor, fragments scattered like forgotten memories. No one came to check on her. No one came to ask questions. The receptionist at the front desk had vanished, leaving only the chair hunched as though someone had just been sitting there waiting. She, or what was left of her, was gone. Or perhaps she had never left at all. The staff of the nearby diner spoke in hushed tones, eyes darting toward the motel whenever Christmas Eve approached. Some claimed they heard soft cries and whispers from the old frost pine, carried faintly on the wind. Others said the building itself exhaled in sadness or anger, depending on the year. Those who stayed in the motel afterward reported small oddities, shadows in corners that didn't match reality, a chill that seemed to linger, even in rooms with heat. Items moved subtly, glasses slightly tipped, chairs angled just off kilter. The legend persisted. Room 7 chose, and those chosen never returned unchanged. The story traveled, whispered through small towns, repeated in fear around holiday tables. Travelers vanished, warnings ignored, and still the snow fell, muffling everything, hiding the horrors beneath its quiet white blanket. And somewhere deep within the motel, in the corner of room 7, a faint movement stirred. Shadows shifted against the walls, pooling in shapes that hinted at faces. A single, black-eyed Santa figurine blinked. Its smile widened, impossibly wide, and in the faintest of whispers, almost drowned by the wind. Next year, next Christmas, we wait for you. Outside, the snow muffled all sound. But inside, silence had taken a new form. Patient, eternal, inevitable. And some nights, when the world seemed still enough, travelers swore they could hear the faint, terrifying echo of footsteps, and the soft, deliberate whisper of room 7 calling its next guest.